The teaching profession is supposed to be the most dangerous to well-being. On comparing 26 different occupations, it was found that teachers scored among the lowest on physical health, psychological well-being, and job satisfaction. Teacher well-being has become an ethical issue also, because this kind of violence, having ill-being. I mean, if we don't care for a teacher's health, whether as parents or students or anyone else, it's an ethical issue. It's not fair to teachers. Then ill-being of teachers affects children's education and well-being also. The cost of educator well-being, ill-being, burnout, and stress. So teacher turnover, cost of new training, teacher replacement cost, negative attitude to profession, general cynicism to teaching and school. That is a kind of depersonalization, reduced professional efficacy, exhaustion and depersonalization, learning environment degraded, quality of education goes down, lowering of cognitive and effective development of children, absenteeism, loss of instructional time, cost of medical care, and ill-being of students. So that's the last one. That is, the ill-being of the teacher is directly proportional or mainly very highly connected to ill-being of students. All right. Teacher experiences of well-being at the hands of students and parents. So there's a lot of emotionally demanding conversations with parents at times, which drains a teacher. The unrealistic expectations, remarks on teaching ability, inappropriate comments, insults, internet harassment, intimidation, deliberate insolence, rudeness and shouting and yelling. In the bigger classes, of course, in the parents also sometimes. Now this is the other part. The first one was, the parent and the teachers. The other part is from within the culture of the organization where the teacher is working. So the supervisory staff has a very great role in creating a harmonious ecosystem in the school. So no empathy, close-hearted supervisor, if it is so, like a person with least emotional intelligence is the supervisor or coordinator. Then preconceived judgments about the teacher, non-empowering training. The training doesn't empower, doesn't make the teacher feel adequate. Teacher feels inadequate. The teacher is only, maybe she has got a lesson plan prepared by someone else and she just wrote speaking it and so on. So she's under great nervousness and tension. Then lacking self-efficacy, insulting behavior sometimes, the non-listening, close-minded bossism and silencing other views kind of behavior, command and control bossism. Command and control means there's a top authority and the others are supposed to follow without question, and there's a fear environment if the person is questioned. Then manipulation, threat of losing jobs, cynicism, mistrust, blame for boss's mistake, harassment, bullying, intrigue. All this is part of my understanding as well as taken from research, worldwide research. All right. So this is how it is. Then online teaching exposed. Now in the time of online teaching, there is a greater exposure to the children and the parents. And so what the parents observe very keenly depends on the age group, is connectedness to children, understanding of curriculum and competence, attitude of the teacher, interest of the teacher, attentiveness to children's concerns, attention to each child. Each parent wants that his child should be given maximum attention. Then cynicism or its absence, burnout and stress. Now, in this online teaching situation, there are no walls or procedures or teaching marketing gimmicks or principle to hide anything. The teacher is totally exposed. Now, so the solution is this emotional intelligence, though I call it emotional quotient, just to look like intelligence quotient. Now, intelligence is the basic cognitive ability, but emotional intelligence is the intrinsic intuitive ability. It's the deeper personality of a human being. So now we will be talking about emotional intelligence as a solution. First, we'll discuss what emotional intelligence is, and then how does it apply to the teacher's situation in relationship to herself and in relationship to the school in which she is working. So Now, I just, this is a bit longish written. Now, I'll just give you two incidents and that's all. After that, such not a longish thing. See what happens is sample incident. A new primary teacher to a new coordinator. She says, the teacher says to the coordinator, my mother is not well, please give me half day's leave. The low EQ coordinator suspects everything, he's been suspected everything and replied, you are lying. The teacher says, do you not trust me? Coordinator answers, no. The coordinator trusted none. Teacher started crying. She had been sincerely putting her heart in the school's work. She was not expecting this. So coordinator says, do not be acting with me. Go back to your class and teach. The teacher went to her class and kept on crying till the end of the day. From that day, she began to lose interest. That is, the teacher began to lose interest in teaching. She felt burned out and hated teaching. Next month, she resigned. By the end of the session, there was 30% staff turnover. You must be very surprised, 30%. But 20%, 15% is very normal in schools. You will be surprised to find that every session, and the most popular in such kind of schools also are advertising for new teachers. There's a huge turnover going on. At least 10% is minimum. All right. Now, this is a high IQ supervisor, how she behaves. The primary teacher to the new coordinator, my mother is not well, please give me half day's leave. The high EQ coordinator says, very sorry to hear this. Let me check the substitution list. So she looked at her empathy. So there was no substitute teacher available. She decided to herself substitute the teacher. Coordinator to the teacher, you can go just now. Do you need any help? The teacher says, thank you, madam. I will arrange through my app. But I will first finish the lesson and go after half an hour. See, the teacher is involved in her work. So coordinator says, in case you want leave tomorrow, please ring me up. The teacher says, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. In 2 months, the teacher became the most connected to her work and the school and fastest learner. She was made great coordinator and a team was being built up. And that's the role of a supervisor, to build up a team. I mean, whether it is a school or a company or business or anywhere, this is how teams are created. Now, this is a general diagram, emotional intelligence supervisor. All these qualities are there. So if you want a PPT, I will be sending you a PPT also. You can have a look at this. Sense of presence, nurturing, and so on. Then this is emotionally destructive supervisor. So, blames others for a own mistake, reactive, increases burnout, money-minded, and so on, only money-minded, and so on. I mean, that's the way emotionally less intelligent or poorly functioning, low empathy person behaves. Now, this is a very famous quotation. This is, we all know this person. In the long run, EQ trumps IQ. Without being a source of energy for others, very little can be accomplished. Now, the teacher is a leader in the classroom, so she is a source of energy for children. And the supervisor or a coordinator, a principal is the source of energy for all the staff. So, very important that the person has emotional intelligence. All right. Now, here I am making a small presentation on what is emotional intelligence and how do we develop it. So there are 4 parts, 1, 2, 3. The 3 combine and the 4th is the result. So being connected to self, every new moment of life, whatever it is. So to have total presence of mind and open will, that is, will means the person is not adamant about things, adamant about point of view, is open to change, he is open to question himself or herself, ready. Second one, self-knowledge of mental fixations and understanding of patience, forgiveness and humility, and stress-free living. So this is self-knowledge is a I would say habit or a regular practice of critical self-reflection to see whether I have a certain pattern of behaving in every situation and so on, or how do I react to similar kind of situations. The third one is empathy. Empathy means to look at reality from the other person's point of view. And all these three result in the ability to maintain relationships. So the teachers can maintain good relations with the children, parents, and their colleagues, and of course their boss also. So there's increasing ability. And for the boss, it is the ability to relate to all the staff and others in an excellent fashion. I've just mentioned in Hindi, we call it Bhavnatmak Buddhi, because our teachers are from Hindi background. So we teach them Hindi also. The same thing translated into Hindi. All right. Now, first part is mindfulness. That is, so this is, see, a mindful, it's not double L, it's FUL only. So that is the ability to see reality as it is. But a mindless person is that who interprets reality as per own ego and past experiences of reality. So there is a prejudice. Now, this mindfulness can be improved, and work can be done on that, and so on. So let me go further. Now, I've given 3 practices. So if you get a copy of the PPT, you can go through. But just see the quotation by J. Krishnamurti. The secret of health is not to mourn for the past, not to worry about the future, or not to anticipate troubles, but to live in the present moment wisely and earnestly. Right? So next one is, this is the second part, the ability to react, to respond as the situation demands, and not habitual responses and fixed patterns of response. This is called self-knowledge. So this is almost similar to mindfulness, but except that in mindfulness, we practice total presence of mind all the time, while in this case, we are reflecting from time to time on pattern of behavior in particular situations. Then the next one, the highest form of human intelligence is to observe yourself without judgment. This is a non-judgmental self-observation and finding out patterns, fixed patterns, let's say programming of the brain, you know. So the programming is, what happens that life is new every moment, and if the brain is programmed, it will not adequately respond. So there will be stress. So if a teacher is able to understand her programming and habits of responding, then she has a better capacity to relate to the parents, children, and colleagues and other people. Then this is, third part is empathy. Again, I've given an activity which you can see later. Now this is to see the reality from the other's point of view. Like I saw the example of a coordinator, how she was behaving with a teacher who wanted to take leave. So there are 2 different ways. One is to, destructive, almost destructive. And the other one is constructive, you see. It is to be sympathetic. All right. Now, this is just a listening part, because listening is very important of relating. Now, you see the pictures. Number 1 is a person who is close-minded. So the red dot is the attention, and the circle is the head of the person, the mind of the person. So a person who is close-minded is generally polite, but doesn't listen, or listens from habit. There's always a prejudgment going on. Next is factual listening. That is, the person has come to the edge of his mind and ready for new things, new learnings, but then still debates her own or his own point of view. So there's an argument and debate. Third is empathic, or let us say open-hearted. It is called open-hearted. It's not written here, but it means open-hearted. And that is that the person's attention is leaving his or her own preconceptions and looks at the reality from the other person's point of view. And there's a critical self-reflection, and there's a dialogue taking place. So that's the 4th kind. That is the empathetic person. And the last one is, of course, top-class leader who has no fixations, no preconceptions, nothing. Is open to change, open to learn, open to commit all kind of things and forget them and then relearn and totally open. So he creates a team. So there's a collective creativity in the institution. So this is the picture I showed you. This is what happens when we have made a very good team where the leader has been emotionally intelligent and other teachers also. So the whole school works like that. Like these days of COVID-19, huge learnings, new learnings are taking place. There's a huge stress, whether the teachers will get salary or not, or half salary, or whether government will see that the school is closed down or still running because they've told that parents don't need to pay fee also. So big changes. I'm in this line for the last 40 years. So every day I hear news, this school closed, that thing happened. So this is a particularly very critical moment for all teachers and management also. Now, last is now, what do we do for teacher well-being? Now, this is relationship skills that requires learning of emotional intelligence, mindfulness. Have minimum staff turnover as your goal. This is very important. What happens is that we need to have a long-term perspective in empowering the staff, empowering the people. And in fact, in my school, we give pension also. And we have health insurance, pension. We give salary on the 28th of every month, same month. And we have 10 other things go on because list of things we do to maintain the staff, to keep good relations with them. And the key motto of the school is happiness for my staff, for the teachers. That is the motto of the school. Anyway, number 3 is very high quality empowering training to teachers by leaders, followed by maximum freedom to organize work, removing barriers to self-efficacy. Now, the greatest barrier I feel is lack of emotional intelligence in the leadership, and also people come and join schools and they leave after 2 years as principal or head, or maybe 3 years. And so they are, most of the time, I mean, not most, many times, their main focus is on maintaining their own CV and enhance and joining another institution with 10 to 20% increase in salary and somehow maintaining things. But the development of teachers and a long-term perspective is missing. It's almost same like we have elections every 5 years. So the Prime Minister is busy with his next election rather than a 20 years perspective or a 50, 30 years perspective. I'm just saying it like that. So in our city, in my school also, our coordinator gets only 10% more than the teacher. So the coordinator is never afraid that a teacher will be a competitor and take away the job, because, and also the coordinatorship can be given by rotation, a supervisory role. Then last is first line leadership with high empathy, open mind, open heart, open will, and sensitivity to keeping teachers stress-free. So EI and mindfulness training for coordinator and assistant heads, that's what should work. Okay, this is creating star teachers. So it's a restatement that emotional intelligence more than any other factor, more than IQ or expertise, accounts for 85% to 90% of success at work. IQ is a threshold competence, you need it, but it doesn't make you a star. So emotional intelligence can. So this is a bit about myself. I offer emotional intelligence, mindfulness, and Heavenly School project and individual coaching. So that's my email address and that's my phone number, WhatsApp. So that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mahesh, for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Rakesh. And it was wonderful, to hear what happens in a school. We hear about students, we hear about parents. It's good to give a perspective about teachers, which I think you did as well, and about the emotional intelligence. And what happened with Sushant Singh Rajput brought EQ back into focus. Okay, and I hope it doesn't happen to others. I hope they take help. Please stay on for questions. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions coming at the end. Now we will have Jyotsna present if she's ready.
So good afternoon, all of you present here today. I'm really honored today to be speaking with all of you on this issue of bridging the digital divide. And it is a very relevant issue because of what we are living, what we are going on, what the changes around the education sector. Before I start my presentation, I would like to thank Peoplebridge for giving us this opportunity to brainstorm and discuss on this relevant issue. I would also like to add here that my views are totally dependent. They are kind of a case study. They are dependent on my experience that I've had in the last 2 years in working with educational institutes that are in the rural sector. So it is more of a case study and our experience sharing. We're living in a very unprecedented time, something we have never experienced before this. And this is a kind of a crisis situation that we are living in. But I actually believe that any crisis gives birth to a lot of opportunities. There are immense opportunities of innovation and moving on. It is how we take things and how we adapt and move on. So before I start with the main topic, I would just like to do a little context setting here. When was the Digital India movement? Aadhaar card has become the world's biggest database, which is based on, okay, so Aadhaar was the biggest database in the whole world, which is based on demography, as well as it is based on our thumbprints, right? So Aadhaar was the big digital movement that happened. Then another was demonetization, I would say. So demonetization, definitely, I don't know whether it was a successful thing or not. Definitely the money is back into circulation, but there is one thing that it did, and that was the use of plastic money. Our financial sector became digitized during the process of demonetization. Who would have thought a panwala or a sabziwala would be accepting digital payments, would be accepting Paytm or Google Pay? You know, it looked far-fetched, but demonetization brought in that change. Our cash transactions really went down, and there was a whole mindset that has changed for the future. And then I would say icing on the cake was the Geo. Geo has kind of brought our data consumption to another level. India today basically has the highest smartphone users in the world after China. And out of these smartphones, the entire phone users, 97% of the users they use internet on their mobile phone. This is also because of the cheap data that is available. At that point, I would just bring in an example here. If you've heard of that song Shape of You by Ed Sheeran, it was a digitally YouTube version that it came out, and it had 4 billion views. 4 billion views within 24 hours of its launch. And when that happened, can you believe 50% of the views were from India because Jio was free at that time. So that is the kind of digital movement I am talking about. So having said all this, I will still say we had a lot of challenges when it came to online teaching, bringing the technology into the rural villages and getting into the mode of online teaching. It was a mammoth task. It still is. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it was a difficult task. So before I share my experience, I will just give you a quick brief on who we are. So we are CP Group of Schools. We are based out of Kayamganj and Farrukhabad. We are more than 20 years into education, and that to rural education. The school was, the vision behind the school was to provide quality education in the rural setup, which did not exist 25 years back. And for that reason, kids had to be sent out at a very early age for good quality education. So the vision of the school is very clear, that is to provide good quality education parallel to what that is present in the urban sector, in the rural sector. And we still, I am very proud that we still hold that vision in our heart. So, I feel that, you know, when an organization or any place is hit by a crisis, it is the stakeholders that help you navigate through that crisis and move to a better direction. And three stakeholders in school, primary stakeholders, are the teachers. They are the backbone of the school. They are the most important people that drive that mission for you. If you have a mission and a vision, teachers are the ones who basically carry it forward on their shoulders. Then it's the parents. They are equally an important stakeholder in the whole environment of education. and then I would say children. So I'd like to share the challenges we faced and how we tried to build the digital divide in our sector. So when it comes to teachers, what were the challenges? We felt there was a lot of uncertainty, and first was resistance. Anybody would do that. You know, with a new thing came in, you have to go in for online classes. What you faced first is resistance, because there is a hope that this is going to change in future. This is not going to stay. Maybe it is temporary. So that are the kind of challenges we face with our faculty. Secondly, there was no past experience, because we have all been evolved in a system of education. I would take the liberty to state here that the modern system of education, which is the physical kinesthetic education, has evolved in the last 300 years, and it has been evolving. Right. We have never really had an experience of online learning, online interaction to the level of what we are having today. These were things we were thought to be very futuristic. Look at the webinar we are having. It's an example. Who would have thought, you know, these kinds of webinars, and now we have an influx of webinars happening all around us. So I would say nil experience, past experience. Also, once you're doing a practice for over a long period of time, you get into your comfort zone. It is very difficult for a human being person to come out of their comfort zone and do something new. That requires a lot of motivation, training, and other things. And we would discuss that, how we handle that. Also, I would like to, I don't know how it happens with the men, but women, especially when they look at themselves in the screen, it's about how you're looking, you know, you get distracted on that. So a lot of our teachers also, teachers, I would say women in general, when you're not used to looking at yourself on the screen all the time while you're teaching. So sometimes it's a very distracting effect. So that is one part of the third person effect here. You yourself become the third person, you know, judging yourself. And next is when, you know, there is a constant eye of parents looking at you, or the management observing your classes, recording your classes, which gets you into an uncomfortable zone. So here, what we did was to, you know, solve these issues. First, as an organization, we helped in making the teachers believe that this is a change. I think we were one of the few schools. I will take the, I feel very proud in saying we were one of the few schools in that area who saw it, that this is the change that is coming, and we started moving very fast. We all believe that this is going to stay, this is the way ahead, and we need to train ourselves. Then we invested in the right kind of training and infrastructure. Training, I feel, is a very, very important tool where it comes to, you know, developing the teachers or the management. Everybody needs training, constant training. And training, we made sure that after main training, we made the teachers divide into small groups and train within themselves for Zoom classes and figure out their own challenges and solutions to the problem. Also, a lot of effort went in class planning. Here, I would like to, you know, a lot of us are parents also. Teachers, we have been, we have been teaching in that way of Blackboard and this for a while now. If it's a 30-minute class, actually effective teaching happens only for 20 minutes. You know, first it's the board, then you're warming up in the class, maybe you're doing a recap. Concept building only happens for 20 effective minutes. But that, you know, really changed in online teaching. When you are preparing for your class, the teacher has to put in double effort here to organize her class better, to see that the children are engaged. So a lot of planning went into preparing the teachers for online classes. Also, we also encourage our teachers in thinking how this new system of teaching will help them it will open their future for a lot of other things. I see somebody has raised a hand here. Should we take the questions later?
This will be for later.
Right.
I'm noting down some of the questions, so go ahead.
Perfect. So these were the teachers that I was talking about. Now, the second most important stakeholder, and I would say sometimes the most challenging stakeholder, is the parent. Now, this change was happening constantly in the urban sector as well. In the urban sector, we have to see that urban sector definitely has some advantages when it comes to online teaching and online classes. The parent is more aware. the parent is technologically more advanced than the parent present in the rural sector. The parent is financially more capable of adapting to such change. Whereas the parent in the rural sector has a lot of limitations here. They have technological unawareness. Not most of them are up to date with what is going on in the new technology. Second, short-sightedness. They cannot see. Sometimes, a lot of us, I'm not going to put this in the rural sector, a lot of us, a lot of people in India kept thinking, that the government is going to do something about the fees. And they thought this online is a gimmick for, maybe schools to, gather fees. So there is a short-sightedness there, I would say. And financial instability, definitely that rural parent has definitely financial limitations here. And so how we dealt with these situations was that I feel the right orientation of the parent is very, very, very important here. The parent has to be taught, the parent has to be communicated constantly. So our teachers were constantly in touch with the students as well as the parents, explaining them, rehammering them, reiterating the fact that this is a permanent change. This is going to be the way of life, and we cannot sacrifice the learning of the student here because of certain limitations. We also showed them how certain financial changes can be made, like you will be saving on the uniform of the child, you will be saving on the transportation of the child. So a lot of this kind of saving, if could go into your maybe buying a smartphone, which is now available as low a smartphone is, fund could be allocated to education. It would really help to build and secure a future for your child in education. So we arranged. So we mentioned to the parents. We showed the parents how the financial burden, the financial shift can happen, not spending in a certain issue and spending it onto education. And I would like to give the credit to our teachers here, our principals, who worked really hard in building that one-to-one relationship with our parents. I would say we're still not successful. We still have been able to connect in our Zoom classes 60% of our students. But by video, we have been able to connect over 80% of our students, like online video sharing by the teachers and things. Let's come to the students here. Now, I feel students are most easy to adapt to changes. Anything new comes, they are the people who adapt the fastest. But there are certain, having said that, there are certain issues that students also face in these online classes. So one is, I would not say a naughty student, but an enthusiastic student. Somebody, a class is always a mix of different kind of children. Some children are always on the toes. If they have done with the class, the teacher has to keep them engaged. So this was a challenge on the part of the teacher as well as the student to sit through a class and learn at a pace which we are still evolving, we are still learning. Then what happens in a classroom is when a topic is explained, you discussed amongst the peer, you talk to the teachers. There is a short-term learning when the topic is explained, and then there is a long-term learning that happens all around the topic. But in online classes, what happens is that when you're learning, the attention span of the student is very, very short. And how a teacher is going to catch that attention span is always a challenge. So those were some limitations that happened, and for that the solution definitely is it cannot happen over a period of short time. The system will evolve. We will have more content that will go into online teaching, how to keep children engaged, how after a introduction of a topic, how to keep them involved, maybe involve certain games, small games. There is a game called Kahoot, which is very, very interesting. So basically it will come with time and more improvement in the system. Screen time. Screen time is a big, big challenge. I have two children, one in grade 7 and one in grade 1. I see at the end of 6 online classes, the child is so done with the day, the child is exhausted, and so goes for the teacher as well. So this is going to be a challenge for a while. This system needs to be evolved. We need to draft more better timetables so that we can do justice to the syllabus as well as we can give them justice to the eye of the child as well as the teacher. technology. Now, some children will always outsmart you. You do whatever. So the technology has its benefits as well as it's a boon and a bane. So some we will always struggle with children, doing a little bit of naughtiness in the class, spoiling your screen while you're sharing it. So these are the challenges that you face with students, but nothing major. All these could be handled by the teachers and were handled very well when we were doing our online classes. Before I come to another discussion here would be what was the impact of this online teaching on the students and teachers here. So there is always an emotional and social impact that happened when this process started, and then a physical impact. I would like to club both these impacts and talk about it. So what happened? Teachers were emotionally definitely taken aback. This is the new thing. They were drained. They had to adapt to a new system. And physically, definitely, as I discussed with you, it is more tedious to plan your online classes and uh, uh, conduct that class. It is definitely more tedious. So what happened actually when the globalization of the world happened? It happened with people moving from one place to another. The globalization of the economy happened when goods and money started moving. I feel this is the globalization of education. It is happening in its true sense. And it has opened a wide vista of opportunities, immense opportunities, at least in the rural sector. And opportunities like, there was lack of awareness. We could get counseling from the best people available in the world. A child sitting in a rural sector can be connected to the best teachers, best educators around the world, best counselors. And it was a far-fetched dream to think a child sitting in my village would be able to hear a professor from Harvard. But now everything is available. The infrastructure is there, the availability is there, and the ecosystem is developing. So I would just like to close my presentation by these last lines. I think you never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, we have to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. And that is what is happening. We're moving into a true era of global education. Thank you so much.
Fantastic presentation, Jyotsna. And yes, to connect with what you said, my wife teaches children abacus online. And for her, from a physical world, teaching children of multicultural, multiracial background, okay, Singaporeans, Malaysians, Chinese, Indians, teaching them online was a big change for her when she switched to online classes.
I agree. I can understand.
And another thing which I can resonate is I think the demonetization actually set the ground for us to use digital payments when the lockdown started. I remember in Gurgaon, I could use my Paytm or Google Pay or whatever to pay the bhajiwala, buy vegetables, buy fruits very easily. Okay, sure. I think that learning happened then, and we continue to use it today. Sure. Okay, wonderful. And I now welcome Kuber to start his presentation. Extracurricular activities is something which is of interest to all of us. People may think that during lockdown or during the COVID period, how do you do? But there are many ways one can continue engaging in extracurricular activities. Over to you, Kuber.
Thank you so much, Mahesh sir. And special thanks to Peoplebridge for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kuber Mahajan, and I am an author. I have authored the books such as Traditional and Modern Forms of Talaq under Muslim Law, The Laws of Election under the Indian Law Regime. Furthermore, I have been indulged into public speaking for a period of over 2 decades now. And as a student, I was involved into these extracurricular activities since the age of 3, that is over 20 years now. Today, we shall be discussing about the pivotal role of these extracurricular activities in a child's growing years. As a matter of fact, when I read the definition of the terminology extracurricular, I was shocked and baffled because the definition was that it is an activity in school, college, etc., which is not included in the normal curriculum. But very soon I realized that at the end of the day, it is something which is a bitter truth that yes, as the terminology itself proclaims the fact that it is something which is extra. In terms of academics, or I should say the education department, we have divided it into two spheres, in which 90% of the sphere is covered by the aspects of the academic, whereas the other term is extracurricular activity, where the child is expected, अगर तुमने अपनी पढ़ाई अच्छे से करी, तो तुम activity कर सकते. We have to realize that in a class, there are generally say 40 to 50 students. Is it practically possible for each and every person to be the topper of the class? Not every child can be a say Venkateshwar or a Swami or Sharma ji ka ladka for that matter. There will be 15 to 20 students who will be excellent in dance, music, acting, debating. There will be certain students who may be the best in athletics. Tomorrow they may even represent our country in Olympics, win a gold medal. And during that time, the schools will brag that yes, he is the student or she is the student from our school. And I'm sure during that time, the report cards will not be considered. As a matter of fact, we always see that a good student is that student who is able to score good marks. Isn't this showing a certain amount of problem which is lying? To judge a person whether he is good or bad, our marks are the relevant thing. At the end of the day, academics is just one of the platforms. So before continuing with this session, I would request each and every person to learn a particular mantra. The mantra is, it is okay to not to be okay in academics. Thus, I request you either you type in your chat box or repeat after me. That is, it is okay to not to be okay in academics. When you hear this mantra, you feel, wow, such an easy mantra. But when the question of implementation takes place, it is a heck of a task. Let me give you some real life examples. There was a student who received a letter from his school. He gave it to his mother and asked that, Mom, what does the letter say? The mother reads the letter and tells him that your school says that you are such an intelligent boy that we do not have capable enough teachers to teach you. Many years passed. The boy found that letter again. When he read that letter, he was quite emotional because the letter stated that your boy is not intelligent and capable enough to study in our school. And that boy, ladies and gentlemen, was none other than Thomas Edison, the person who invented the bulb. Without his inventions, I don't think that you would have seen my face on this webinar. Such is the belief system that at the end of the day, it is the innovativeness, the creativeness, and the uniqueness in the person that decides whether the person would be a successful one or not. I had a classmate in my 12th class, the so-called boards era. My mother used to tease me or say the Hawa year of a student, where there is so much pressure among the students कि अगर मैंने इसमें अच्छा नहीं करा तो मेरा आगे क्या होगा. There was a classmate who was a brilliant singer. He used to take part in various reality shows. He even secured second or fourth position as well in those shows. Unfortunately, he could not clear 2 of his examinations. Now, on his re-examination, his totality was 60%. And every student at the end of the day aims to get the best of the college. With 60% marks, it was not looking very bright. But you know, in the very same year, he was admitted into the India's best college, and that too on the basis of his merits. And here by using the terminology merits, I nowhere intend to mean on the basis of his marks, but on the basis of his talent. The dean of that college in an interview provided the fact that we have 250 to 300 students who have scored more than 95%, but we required a person with certain uniqueness, the X factor, who can be the face of a college, who may even represent the college in other universities. That makes our university an all-rounder university, having all sorts of students at the end of the day. There are so many options. Before I continue with this slide, any member of the audience, whether a student or a teacher or a parent, please provide me in your chat box what type of activity would make you interested or you were indulged into, or what is the most interesting activity which is a stress buster for each and every person. It could be anything, including video games, including PUBG for that matter, which many students love. So let's discuss in that respect, any sort of activity. It could be dance, music, or as I mentioned, video gaming, even drawing, painting for that matter, or even sports activity, acting, etc. Now tell me one thing. In terms of academics, we had one sphere, whereas in this activity, we have plethora of options to choose from. This in a way shows that so much enthusiasm can be generated from these extracurricular activities. Thus, the key benefits which these extracurricular activities gives is in the form of team spirit, which is a very important factor, where you realize when you are working, for example, in a group dance, group music, or for that matter, skit, or in a sporting activity, you realize that yes, this is my role in the team. If my team requires me that if I speak only for 2 minutes, but this changes the whole plot of the skit, or if my football team requires me to be the defender and not to be the attacker, that is the role of my team. And this team spirit further leads to the attribute of a leadership skill. Further, it creates a strong personality leading to a positive attitude in a person. Muhammad Ali, a legendary American boxer, before every match, he used to say that I am the greatest, I am the best. And he never used to brag that. He used to take that as a pride because he knew that the uniqueness that I have, the talent that I have, makes me at a higher level as compared to others. He would not say these lines in terms of in his studies because he knew that what I am good in is the only thing in which I can have the confidence. Further, it gives you a certain trait, the art, to learn from others' experiences. I have seen many people, especially the adults, who proclaim the fact that due to their self-esteem, why should I learn from others? But these activities makes the child realize that yes, the person is doing better than me. I have to realize that, or I have to observe that what I can learn from that person. That further gives the child the guts to enhance their communication skills by approaching the person or by communicating what is right and what is wrong. Supposingly a team activity is taking place where something wrong is happening against a person, that communication skill takes place. And let me tell you one very interesting aspect. Whenever a child goes for an interview in the future stages, the interviewer or the employer at the end of the day would be considering these very traits rather than asking for your report cards. Thus, participation is the stepping stone towards the victory. Let me ask you a very simple question. When as a child, our parents take us to their relatives, what do they say? कि बेटा जरा poem सुना के दिखाओ, बेटा जरा dance करके दिखाओ, or would they ever say to you कि बेटा जरा ताईजी को trigonometry का formula सुनाओ या microorganism का process बताओ? Why? Because they also know that these are the traits at the end of the day which takes you at a higher level. But you have to realize that Rome was not built in a day. If you commence with a certain form of activity, it may take time. Sachin Ramesh Tendulkar, for that matter, it took him 79 ODI matches before he could score his first century. You have to give yourself the time. If it takes 3 months, 6 months, year, 2 years, that is perfectly fine. Because half of the battle was already won when you started participating. The penalty made goal, at the end of the day, if you see both the diagrams, the target is the same. but there will be hurdles, speed breakers, road barriers as well. A person who has started participating from the age of say 6 or 7 years will have more advantage in that respect, whereas any other person who has been participating or has just started may find certain amount of difficulties in that respect. It is very important for the child to come out of the comfort zone at the end of the day, where as soon as the child feels comfortable that yes, no matter what, even if the audiences laugh at me, because most of the children have the fear कि लोग क्या कहेंगे. It is not the thing which children should think at the end of the day. They think मेरे दोस्त मुझ पर हंसेंगे. Trust me, even if they laugh, it will be once, twice, or at maximum thrice. But at the end of the day, they will on their own see that okay, Rohan is doing well, Shruti is doing well. मुझ में ऐसा confidence क्यों नहीं? You have to realize that you have to be a turtle and not a rabbit. Thus, slow and steady wins the race. If you are not feeling comfortable to perform before the audience, perform among your well-wishers, among your friends, among your parents, grandparents. Start performing among an audience which is say 5 to 6 members. Further increase it to 10, 20, 30. And eventually you will realize the number of people listening to you would be immaterial. Whether it is 1,000 or 10,000 at the end of the day, it will be just a number for you. But you have to believe in yourself. And for that matter, the role of parents is very important, because the parents shall have to act as a friend, as a true companion in that respect. They have to give the child the self-belief, the self-confidence that yes, can do so. And you have the freedom that what sort of activity you would like to be indulged into, you may. I have seen many parents where they have acted so strictly as if they tell their child, ठीक है, मैं तुम्हें एक मौका देता हूँ, if you see, that is fine. I've seen the mothers buying t-shirts, goodies for their children so that they to their father that no problem child, you tell your father that you have won. At least you could get another opportunity. By that aspect, my friends, the child will only believe that okay, my parents don't believe in me. Why should I continue in these activities? Further, the parents have to realize that comparison is not an option. The only comparison that a student should do is with himself or herself. Where if you scored 70 marks, others may have scored hundreds or 99 marks. You have to realize that in the next term, if I'm scoring 75 or 80, that is the improvement. That is the comparison which I'm able to do. Here in the image, the boy has won awards, medals, trophies. And the mother is asking the girl, where's your award? That is not fair upon the girl as well. Parents must realize that they have to create such a healthy environment where they must share their own experiences. They must tell their experiences by that, like, child, today I learned this in my office, or this was the problem which I faced. I was fortunate that my parents gave me that sense of respect after reaching a certain age where they took my suggestions, my opinions. Of course, we had difference of opinions, but that created a healthy environment where we can certainly rely on each other's confidence, on each other's views at the end of the day, creating a healthy family. Let me ask you another question. In your chat boxes now mentioned, would you like to meet any of these personalities in your real life? Some of them are not alive, unfortunately, but if they would have been, any sort of personality, because they are such great models for us, role models for us. Do you know the uniformity between each and every person? All of them are college dropouts or could not clear their examinations. But if we consider the fact that a good student or a good person is a person who has been clearing his exams, then by that criteria, neither of them is a good person and neither of them should be a successful person. But don't you think they are the penultimate of successfulness of a person? Thus, this shows the uniqueness, the creativeness, and at the end of the day, the confidence with the self-belief is something which will outshine. I remember when I was in school, I was a in terms of my studies. I scored 60% in my examinations in 10th class. But with self-belief, it further increased to 80% in 11 because I followed a reverse psychology. And that reverse psychology was that the way I practice for my extracurricular activities, that is, if I'm able to learn 20 to 50 pages of a script within a period of 15 to 20 minutes, then why on earth am I not able to study within a period of 1 week? The reverse psychology was the way I practice for my curriculums, I'll do the same for my studies. I'll be more energetic. I'll practice again and again and understand it with utmost interest. And like I used to practice in front of the mirror for even for 14 to 15 hours, I brought that interest into my studies. And eventually, it increased to a further from 80% to 90% in 12th. And in college, I became a topper. Thus, these extracurricular activities ultimately made me a good student in terms of academic as well. Thus, here is the thing. In these provisions, I can help you with. I provide one-to-one session with students who are not very confident or who want to know that what form of extracurricular activities they want to indulge into. I prepare them with any form of extracurricular activity. I nourish their public speaking skills. I guide them with the subjects to choose from, especially the 9th and 10th class students. I guide them with the appropriate career for them, especially the 12th class students. As a matter of fact, if you have a confusion that, okay, what sort of activity should I pursue? Simply choose any 4 to 5 activities for starting purpose. Realize the fact that, yes, this is the activity in which I'm most comfortable with. As soon as you realize that fact, continue with that activity. But a personal suggestion, kindly do not consider this session as a fact that if any student believes that, yes, I'm enjoying my academics or I want to do further studies, in no manner I'm saying leave your education or leave your studies. At the end of the day, it is quite important as well. But you have to follow the 20 years that you study, that is the school period and the college period. Those 20 periods cannot be based on the certain rigidity aspect. You have to be flexible. You have to come out of your comfort zone. Thus, आप ये मत मानिएगा कि क्योंकि कुबेर महाजन ने कहा है कि आप इतना मोटिवेट हो जाओ कि आज से मैं पढ़ाई बंद कर दूं. No, you have to start balancing things. You have to take out the appropriate time for yourself at the end of the day. Thus, you can connect with me by observing this contact numbers, these mail IDs, and also you can message me on Instagram. You can also connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and very soon you will be finding me on YouTube. I will be more than happy to help each and every student, whether they want to come with their parents or talk to me personally. I'll be more than happy to do so. So thank you so much, dear students, and best of luck for the future. And best of luck to the teachers. I know that it has been a very difficult phase where you are connecting through your online mediums, but this time shall definitely pass, and all the best for each and every venture that the teachers will be entering for their students. I know you have the toughest of job, but we all respect that. So thank you so much and have a nice day.
Thank you, Kuber. And I really appreciate all the panelists for being, making your presentations crisp. So I didn't have to worry about looking at the clock so much or time overruns. But it also gives me a good problem to have. That is, we'll have time for quite a few questions and you can take your time answering that. And as Kuber said, don't study just 1 week before your exams. Not everybody can be a Kuber. You need to study year round, right? And one more thing which I wanted to share, especially when it comes to extracurricular activities, is that a team or a class or a group is as strong as the weakest link. Okay, so even if you are just that soldier holding the spear in a drama or a skit, do that. Okay, because that is very important. Okay, you may think, okay, oh, I'm just a soldier or a guard or somebody who's leading the bridesmaid, but you do not know what joy you are providing to someone. It could be your parents, it could be a brother, your sister, or anyone, or even your friend. That particular role, what you are playing, is very critical for that. And like I said, always remember, okay, a chain is as strong as the weakest link. So let's take questions. Let's start with ladies first. And the first question is to Jyotsna. Okay. And we have had very good comments coming in. People have been appreciative of all of you. Okay. So the first question to Jyotsna is this, that can you share whether we can leave primary students unobserved during online learning? I hope you got the question.
Yeah, I got the question. You were talking about kids being left unobserved, right?
Yes, especially primary children.
Yeah, see, this again, I'm going to talk from personal experience. My younger one is in grade 1. So, what I try to do here is that I definitely would say you cannot leave them unobserved. So, this is a challenge when it comes to conducting online classes with younger kids. Because a lot of times what I see is, the class is going on and they're very smart. He can just quickly stop his video and he can lie down on the bed and the teacher is going on with the class. So I have observed him doing certain things like this, or he's, if he's got another gadget in the room, he's listening to some music and he stopped his video. So definitely I would recommend not leaving the kids totally unobserved. It is going to be a challenge for the parents to be present while the classes are going on, and this is the challenge we have to deal with. It's kind of unavoidable, but after certain age, my older one is in grade 7, so he can be left definitely unattended on the basis again, and you have to trust your child. So I don't know if anyone else has any
Yeah,
recommendation.
so I would like to say one of our schools, I've been, I've joined their online teaching and learning. And what I've observed is that the teacher taught ratio has been very nice. They have had even 3 or 4 teachers joining the early years teaching.
Right.
Okay, and it puts the students very much at risk. I've seen kids learning from by lying on the bed itself. They've been doing Zumba and other things on the bed or on the floor, right? Different days, different sessions, one. And children are enjoying it more
Right.
because their parents are not keeping an eye on them. The parents come in, help them get online,
Right.
get started, and they leave.
Right.
And the children can be themselves. They
Right.
express, very naturally. So it's a great time to see them. So I believe, this is my opinion. I could be wrong, but children can be left
I
unobserved.
think it will have to be a mix. Some you will have to have an overall bird's eye view, but you don't really have to sit on their heads
Yes,
all the time during the class.
very much.
Right.
So question for Kuber. I hope I don't have to unmute you, but if I have to, just let me know and I'm happy to do that. Question for you is, how do you balance games with academics? How do parents balance out studies with games or extracurricular activities?
So, in terms of games, I'll interpret it in two manners, whether it is video games or games which you play outside. So, in terms of studies, we have 24 hours in a day. Let us say that you are sleeping for 8 to 10 hours even. You still have 14 hours. I don't think that it will be worth for you to use that or inculcate those 14 hours entirely into studies. You need some refreshment, whether it is, say, games, or game of cricket, or even PUBG, which is very famous in today's time. So you have to get some time where you are enjoying that factor. Unfortunately or fortunately, academics is something which every child, at least in school level, would not enjoy to do so. They feel that as if they are forced into it. So respect that analogy as well. What you can do is, as Mahesh sir also said, that it is not that you study a week before exams. Take out only 1 to 2 hours at maximum. Study what you have studied in your school. It is very easy to say, I know that. But trust me, once you start doing this venture, it is practically very possible. And at the end of the day, you have the whole time. Whether you want to watch TV or any series, you want to play outdoor games, just do that. Because at the end of the day, your mind also needs certain amount of relaxation. It is even in offices today, many MNCs, many companies, what they are doing is that they are providing table tennis tables in offices or providing gym in their offices, because they also know that there must be certain amount of breather which a person or a human needs, and that breather will eventually increase your output whenever you are studying, and you will certainly face better amount of results in that aspect.
Thank you, Kuber. Rakeshji, question for you. How can teachers develop emotional intelligence to help children who are late bloomers in life? Not necessarily children with learning disability. There are many children who bloom late in life. How can teachers recognize that? Or how do they train themselves, or how are they emotionally intelligent to identify such children?
See, emotional intelligence has got two aspects. One is that the self of a person is connected to the self. So the person knows himself. That is one part, because we are generally disconnected. The disconnection is caused by our own preconceptions and accumulated experiences or ego. There's a disconnect between self and the self. Then there is a disconnect between self and the others. So that is also, if we have preconceived notions, like even the concept of late bloomer is a preconceived notion, because who has decided what is late and what is not late? See, there are many, many great people who bloom very late also in life. So one can have a list of them. So the late word itself is a preconception, and there is some sort of a concept of average, like average 6-year-old child should be in class 1, average 8-year-old child should be in class 3, like that. So this is a preconception of what is late or not. So the teacher who has the ability to empathize, being emotionally intelligent, that is part of her development, will be able to get in touch and watch and understand the child by just watching first-hand observation, first-hand decision making, and without any preconceptions about late or not late. And secondly, the teacher will love the child so much that she will protect the child from all those who call the child late bloomer. Tell them, please mind your own business. God has made the child in this way, and he is to be protected. And some of the greatest authors and writers and people in the life were late bloomers. You see, so so-called late bloomers, so-called the media and the people and the public calls them. So that's my point of view, that the teacher who is emotionally intelligent is in contact with others and contact with herself. So she is not taking other people's opinions, thinks firsthand, watches firsthand, and also connects with the child firsthand and takes the decision as the child needs.
Okay. Thank you. Jyotsna, question for you is, do you think a tablet or a mobile phone or a phablet is good enough for online learning?
See, it is a very debatable issue, and I have personally used all three sources for my children. So I feel a phone is an equally good source, because as a student, you're only interested in looking at the teacher and what the teacher is explaining. Right. I think your concentration is way better if only one speaker comes on your screen and you have a direct interaction like that. So I feel a phone or a tablet or definitely, for this kind of a meeting, a laptop is a better way of doing it, because then you can see multiple people interacting with each other. But for online classes, I would say a phone or a tablet is an equally good source. And even a cheap phone like a 2,500 worth of the beginning level phone is good enough. It is the network and the data that matters in online thing.
Yes. So I would tend to agree. I came across one very good content for CBSE schools from class 1 to class 8. It's very teacher-centered lesson plan driven, very nicely done. And it looks like a WhatsApp message. So, children at home with one smartphone can actually look at the content as if it's a WhatsApp message
Right.
across subjects, and it has got curated content. It has got lessons from Khan Academy. It has got the best of content from different places. It's a wonderful thing. I'm happy to share with interested people. One, yesterday I was speaking to a student who is doing her BDS, which is dentistry.
Right.
And that girl, she's in the second year. She doesn't have a laptop or a notebook computer. So she's doing all her learning now on a smartphone device. And she's a college topper.
Wonderful. I'd like to add something here if we
Yes,
have
please. Yeah, we
very
have. Yes.
I'm just taking the liberty here. I'm not including Kuber in this. Kuber seems to be very young, but most of us belong to that era of education where rote learning, was the way of learning. If I ask you all to imagine a scenery in your head and draw a scenery, I am sure 99% of you will make those triangular mountains, that sun in the middle, the stream coming down, and if you're very creative, a tree and a bird. Why? We were never asked to imagine a scenery. We were always, we were taught this is how a scenery looks like. But education for the last 10 years has evolved so much. We are paying so much attention in content development and methodology. This change was already happening. It's just that this virus, this situation has really sped it up. And it has, so all these resources, I would say, Mahesh, were already there. It's just that now we are forced to use something like that.
So you're very right. It's all about what we call preconceived. It's about our conditioning, right? As a child, what the experiences we are conditioned to. In fact, today I saw a very nice meme. It was about a vehicle, which was Khatara, very elongated vehicle. And it said, this vehicle looks something like what I drew when I was a student. Okay. Now, the question to you, Kuber, is, could you, this is from Seema Malhotra, who is asking you to repeat your own experience because she missed it out. So please tell about your own case study, how you switched between your extracurricular to learning 70, 80 pages in just 1 week. Go ahead.
So thank you for this question, ma'am. So basically, when I used to go to my school, my purpose, which should not be followed, but my purpose to go to school were two. I go to the school, inform my class teacher I'm present so that I get the attendance, and then straight away run to my dramatics room or to the school bus so that I can go to other schools for competitions. So that is, for me, that was my school for only and only competition purpose. So at a point of time, I realized that, okay, it is good that you are doing these activities, but that sense of maturity must be there where you must realize that you should indulge yourself into studies as well. When I scored 60% in my 10th standard, it opened my eyes that, okay, now I have to focus because in 11th, I will have the subjects of my own interest at the end of the day. And if I'm able to learn these scripts, whether it is debates, declamation for any play, I used to practice again and again with so much enthusiasm and excitement that I may even leave my dinner or lunch for that matter. Because for me, that was my first love. And I realized that, okay, let us have a reverse psychology where most of the students, what they do is they follow the academics, and on the basis of that, they practice their curriculums. What I did was, if I'm doing good in these curriculums, let me pursue these very practices for my academic purposes. I started understanding with utmost interest and learning it. Memorizing and learning are two different traits. I understood it and started learning it in front of the mirror in the same manner I used to prepare for my speeches. So that really gave me a boost. At the end of the day, if I'm able to write 2 books, that is not because I'm a person who is reading novels continuously or etc. Because I have the confidence that what I have to say at the end of the day, what I have to express, that will be of a temporary nature. I just have to pen it down so it becomes of a permanent nature. So that is the belief and the confidence that these extracurricular activities has made me. And at the end of the day, that very aspect, today I'm able to top in my college as well, and I'm also participating in these activities. So that is the case study for me.
Okay, good. So Jyotsna, again a question for you. Yes. How do we keep teenagers engaged online, where we also worry about the online addiction when it comes to teenagers, right? How do we ensure that they follow and are interested in school directed or teacher directed or educator directed online learning?
Okay, some days back, there was I don't want to name the name of the school from Lucknow. There was a video viral of a school where some boys were smoking in the school premises. You know, things like that, children deviating in the, I would not, exploring other sides. You know, maybe it could be online content or smoking or drinking or doing any kind of activity which is not desirable out of them at a certain age, you know, has always been there. Can we control our children when they go to school, or you know, this era of online, children exploring the online gadgets, internet was already there. It is not that online teaching has brought any vices with it. Definitely, as parents, our vigilance level has to go a little higher here. But we have to, this is my personal opinion, we have to educate our children right, in the right direction. Curiosity has been always there, age long. The curiosity to do something wrong, exploring, defying the rules has always been there. But right education at the right point, at the right time in a child's life is very important. So I still struggle. I have to tell my children that, okay, this is the time. You cannot go beyond this. I check their history. I do a lot of things, and most of us do. So I think these are challenges that already existed, and I don't think online teaching has brought, you know, something that was not there. What do you think, Mahesh, in this? What do you think here?
Yeah, so I believe that, you know, many systems, like especially in the IB, where our, especially our diploma students, do need to go and do a lot of research online. And many of the students have to go online and enter their work. They have to do online submissions. So I would say it takes a lot of screen time. It's very valid. And of course, students need to monitor their online time. Okay, because if they're spending too much of time on academics, they have to spend time, you know, we have to take care of the social emotional well-being as well. They need to continue talking. They need to continue talking with their parents, their grandparents, their friends as well. Pick up a phone. If you can't pick up a phone, meet with your parents and, you know, talk to them over a dinner. I think dinner time becomes very critical.
Agreed.
Okay, so especially meal times today when the family is spending at home. Okay, don't get irritated if they are peeping in when you're having a class or you're chatting with a friend. All those things, especially when it comes to teens, and managing trust deficit, ensuring it doesn't turn into a deficit, is very critical, both for educators and parents when it comes to dealing with teenage children. That's my 2 cents.
Right, I agree. I think going to school also help children in not even educating themselves, but developing a social behavior,
Yes.
which we will have to put in an extra effort right now to help them develop.
And to, you know, what Seema was trying to inform Kuber and what Kuber was mentioning, just my point of view again, because a lot of universities are now considering holistic education
Right.
and making it an important consideration for university admission. It's just not your 90%, your 99.99%. It's about the X factor in your life. Okay, what is your, you know, your greatest strength? Have you done a startup? Have you had a break year? Have you learned a new language? Have you done community work? Have you done social service? Okay, have you invented something? Have you participated in anything? These things are now starting to appear and have greater weightage when students are applying for higher education, not just in India but globally. Okay, so it is even more critical that we balance out academics with extracurricular or co-curricular activities.
Very true.
There's life beyond academics is what I would like to say. Okay. And while we always say you don't get a second chance to create a first impression, okay, but in academics and in life, you can fail and get up again. That's what I would say. Rakesh ji, question for you is, as many teachers step into leadership roles, what advice would you give them to take care of their peers and the next batch of teachers who join? Okay, because there's a sense of competition as well. As teachers are elevated, they're promoted. Okay, there's some sense of said and unsaid friction as well. Okay, how would you advise teachers on this matter?
Say that people who select teachers for promotion should not just look at seniority, sort of, because while the teacher is teaching in the classroom with small children, she's dealing with a certain age group. But the moment the teacher is given a supervisory role, like a coordinator or headmistress or principal, whatever, she's dealing with adults. So the situation is totally different. So with children, the teacher can escape being, less emotionally intelligent and so on and so on. And children also forget so many situations of hurt and otherwise and so on. But with adults, if she is not intelligent in how to deal with them, like I gave you the example of two kinds of people. The one who allowed the teacher to go home and had sympathy and in fact helped her in every way. So the teacher had a good relaxed relationship. But the other one is always bossing around and finding faults and not trusting and suspecting the teacher. So that's a very negative and closed-minded attitude. So the most important thing that at the time of selection, the teacher should introspect, and also those who select people, they must see to it that the people are basically affectionate. I think I would use that very general word affection, which everyone understands, who are naturally affectionate, who are easy to connect with other people, who have a development of empathy, who are not egocentric, close-minded versus open-minded, close-hearted versus open-hearted, close will versus open will. So people who are open-minded, open-hearted with open will should be in these positions. So any person who is selected should reflect and not go after other things like status or money or whatever. That's
good. It's a good perspective. Kuber, coming to you, what was your motivation to write your first book, and how did you go about selecting such a complex topic?
Basically, I always wanted to do something different. So what I feel that if you want to be different from others, you need to have certain uniqueness. And when I started writing my first book when I was in second year, in my third semester. So I realized that this is the time when I'm in college, in which I will be having the most free time for myself, where I can explore myself. Because once I enter into jobs or when I start practicing in a court, I won't get that much time. So I had to realize that yes, as a student, the amount of time which I get to explore new and certain other things is the best time for me. So that firstly gave me the confidence that yes, let's start with a book. Otherwise, in respect to triple talaq aspect, I was quite fortunate that when I started, the Supreme Court case was also taking place. So along with the ancient forms, I could get the modern forms as well. So unfortunately, because of my activities, I could not attend the classes of this Muslim law triple talaq. But I requested my teacher that, ma'am, I was gone to other city for this competition. I missed the class and it is a very complex topic. So she gave me 1 hour session and told me everything and taught me. And that made me, I thought that it was a very interesting topic. And that made me realize that yes, something can be done in this issue. Because many people may be aware of the ancient aspects, but in respect to the Supreme Court judgment and what law we will be having, that is something which many people can have. And that very factor gave me the tag of it being the first ever book to produce the bills, ordinances, and the judgment aspect of this topic. So my effort is always to bring something different, which takes me to a new level from others in terms of uniqueness. So that in that purpose or that self-motivation, it helps me.
For you, and I think this is the same question I'll ask both Rakesh and you, Jyotsna. Jyotsna, starting with you. You know, you would have a graduating cohort this year, which is now quite kind of unsure. What is that one or two messages you'd want to give your cohort as they go into from school-based education into either work or a break or joining their family business or going to higher education? What is that mantra or yarn you will give to them?
One mantra that I would like to give, I definitely agree with Kuber's policy here. Be different, I would ask them. See, now we are living in a very different era. A lot of the jobs that existed a year back will not exist anymore in future. Like if you were relying on a certain job, the times have changed so massively that it might not exist. So be agile. This new age, Mahesh, I would like to say this new age of children are very agile. They are really, they are aware. They are connected to the world way more than how we were connected to things. And they're more focused. So one mantra I would like to give to them is to definitely explore your horizons, think differently, be agile, and be the change that we need, that the tomorrow is going to bring.
Wonderful words. Rakeshji, what have you told your cohort, graduating cohort of 2020?
See what happens. Sorry. Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
See, what happens is that many of us have inherited a lot of power and strength because of our family background, and some have financial power, some have other power, mental capacities are higher, and so on. Opportunities are created. But a large number of other people may not have that thing inherited by luck. So what I tell them is that their own life is in their own hands. So in our tradition, Indian tradition, Sanskrit tradition, there are three words called dharna, dhyan, samadhi. Dharna means you decide, I'm going to do this. So whatever you want to do, you say, I'm going to do this. And then dhyan means you consistently focus on it, think about it, work on it. And then most important, the base is samadhi. Samadhi means mindfulness. That is, mind is free. And every time I take up the problem, every morning I get up and I work for that, I keep my mind fresh and study the situation again. So keep on studying again and again, a fresh mind, not to bother, not having any pressures. And of course, we teach them mindfulness also. It's part of their course. So these three things, dharna, dhyan, samadhi, this is called sanyam. That is the highest level of discipline. And that creates vibhuti. Vibhuti means higher capacities. Like most of the people I see, Mr. Kuber and Jyotsna ma'am, and you also, and many people, you have worked hard on yourself. You have higher capacity, worked hard, maybe also added to the family background. So most people I see who have reached a certain stature in society by the age of 35, I tell them by the age of 35, I want to see you in a leadership position somewhere. So then I will be happy. I'll say, okay, you've done something. So choose. So dharna, dhyan, samadhi is what we teach. And luckily, most of my alumni are well settled. I'm very proud. They keep on sending messages. So we have a school alumni association, and they come every year, and wonderful time. That's what we teach them.
Okay. So question for Jyotsna. Okay. How do you keep, as a school owner, how do you keep reassuring your teachers, your staff, non-teaching staff? How do you keep them motivated during these times? Okay, because there is insecurity all around, right? Even if you are a self-motivated person, you find yourself that, you know, people get WhatsApp forwards, people get Facebook messages, tags, and of course the news media. There's a lot of cacophony all around, right? So some good, some bad, but then you get that. So in these times, how do you motivate everyone? And in spite of, there are some many challenges which you cannot share with others in your work environment. I may go, you know, I would be turning my video off for some time. That's okay, but I would be listening to you. Thank you.
Right. Actually, all of us need to be motivated in these times. With the times that we are living in, we have never experienced this. A lot of us have never experienced. And the last pandemic that broke, it took like 4 years to escape. And we also don't know how uncertain is it. So I would say that keeping our employees motivated is definitely a challenge. But but what other way do you see it? You have to basically tell your people around. You have to show that strength within yourself, that yes, we all will go through this together. We all will come out of this together, and as management we will always be standing behind you to help you wherever you can to the best of our capabilities. But we want your support. We need to work as a group so that we both the people can support each other in these times. So I think communication is the only way you can handle these situations in a better manner. Rakesh ji also here, sir, you also run a school. How do you keep your staff motivated, your employees?
When I appoint a person, first of all, I see that it's a long-term appointment, and we give pension also. Very rare schools which give pension in these times. And we tell them that my first duty from today, I'm the director, is to see that you enjoy your work. The day you feel under pressure, under stress, I'm going to feel very sad about it, and I'm going to do something about it. So my personal number is with them any time. Now I've got 4 coordinators who run the school. They have been selected on that basis that they are very affectionate, very kind. And I told them that no stress, any stress, you lose your marks, and I lose more marks than you because I have appointed you. Only one of them is a bit high stress person. So I'm working very hard, though I gave her this year as last year, but I don't know, I can't escape, she has to continue. So I tell them this is, and secondly, we pay salaries on the 28th of the month. Most schools here give salary on 10th of the next month or 12th of this. So my teachers are always comparing the school with the rest of society. Now these days, a large number of schools are paying 1/4 of the salary, half the salary. I'm paying full salary. Though I have to take some overdraft from the bank, doesn't matter because we will recover. Then so many other things every day. And we give empowering training. I told them, you are first-hand educators and you have to develop yourself. And another thing about quality, I said, I accept you as you are. So my coordinator says, sir, someone says, I don't want to work. I said, let them not work. But that doesn't happen because if we trust them, they slowly begin to respect the school. Then we have a whole set of procedures. We start our morning with a yoga, meditation. Then we have an oath for the teachers in which the first sentence is that life is good, everything is well, and the management is committed to the teachers' welfare and happiness and joy of working. So we start from there, and it ends that the employees are also committed to the prosperity of the school and to increase the number of children and so on. But a whole lot of things, it's about 10 to 12 sentences of oath they have. And then we speak Om also, and we have pranayam also. And then then depends on what is the situation and so on and so on. And we have then, these days the teachers are presenting their lesson plans. We are an IB school. We are actually working for MYP and DP also. So we are already PYP. So everyone is preparing their lesson plan and presenting. And now we have added that we are not only educating the children, we are educating the parents also. So we are giving them extra holidays also. We have increased the number of holidays, so they're very happy. And also the realization of fee is now the responsibility of the teachers. I was thinking for the last 10 years that one day it should be. Now they are so happy that they have got the salary while the rest of the city, most teachers are not getting salaries or half salary or quarter. So they said, yes, sir, we are going to do it. But I said, there are difficult parents for that. My core team, which are the core team, the coordinators, which are the real people, they handle the difficult cases because I don't want the teachers to have stress. But then there are actually, we have a project, I do consultancy on a project called Heavenly School. See, Heavenly हिंदी में कहते हैं स्वर्गिक और एक नरक होता है. एक स्कूल नरक जैसे टीचर रोज जाती है तो गेट के अंदर when she enters, she stops her breath for a minute and says, oh my God, I'm going to face my coordinator, my principal and some of my colleagues. And she or he stops the breath for a minute and then breathes deeply and enters the school. Not my teachers, I don't expect. I expect them to be smiling and happily, and I keep an eye. I have camera, I see. And if I find anyone unhappy, I ask, ma'am, what's going on? Anything, any problem? Only day before yesterday, one of the teachers said, I don't want to give report cards on Sunday. I said, okay. Then the coordinator said, the difficult coordinator said that she refuses. Then I talked to her one-to-one on this thing. I said, ma'am, what happened? She said, this coordinator puts a huge pressure. I folded my hand. I said, I'm very, very sorry, please. Now you find a solution that we give actually monthly report card on 28th. So 28th is a Sunday. So we have to give on that day. She said, I have no problem, sir. Please keep my time early in the morning. I said, you decide the time, you are the boss, whatever time you want. So in fact, whenever the teachers say anything, I tell them, you are the boss, you decide. You know the curriculum, you know the system. At the end of the day, the school has to have fee, carry out the curriculum, and number of children should go up. Or there should be admission pressure. The rest is your freedom. You do anything, don't do anything. It doesn't matter to me. That's what I tell every day. So because you see, once they have given responsibility, trust, flexibility, I told them I accept variation, whatever, all fingers are never same, do whatever. But of course, parents expect order, parents expect children to develop, parents expect whatever. That you have to fulfill, otherwise school will not exist. So then it's a teamwork. Like I showed my video there, where there is a open will, the will. There is no, the other day I was looking at lesson plan, I said, the objective shouldn't be mentioned here. And I said 3 times, I suddenly realized that I was insisting on my point of view and the coordinators, from their faces, they were not agreeing. Then I told them in Hindi, "Aap ye nahi samajhna ki main jiddi insaan hu. Okay, do whatever you want to do." So, but the point is that the children have to develop. So, well, actually there's a book that I'm writing on this, and I call it Heavenly School. And I never consider any teacher as individual. I consider them as part of the team, and I think about the whole school. I have no thought about any particular person at all.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, I have spoken.
Thank you, Rakesh, for sharing your personal experience. Because in a public forum, talking about personal experience is very difficult, but we appreciate what you just shared. And thanks again, Jyotsna, for that. Coming to, just to let all our audience know that we have people from Philippines and other countries as well in the audience, okay? So Kuber, here is a question to you, okay? We have a lot of people sharing stories on LinkedIn. I lost my job, help me find one, or I had an internship which got declined, okay? And these are from premier institutes as well. I see it on my LinkedIn feed, okay? A lot of people talking about that. A lot of people are also joining new jobs. So it's not all darkness. What would you tell your cohort of lost students? If given a chance, okay, how would you motivate them? Share with us.
So I'm also in one of those rare batches, that is the period of 2015 to 2020 batch, where we are in a way stuck in between. We are not completely lawyers. We are not anymore completely students as well. And that is the rarest of the rarest case, I feel. So personally speaking, it is a time that you take it as something where new opportunities arise. In terms of job, yes, we felt that this will be the year where we will be joining huge firms, senior advocates, learning under them, etc. But as of now, even if the situation improves, many won't hire, because at the end of the day, to maintain the job as well, they are facing difficulties. So to hire more and more, that to freshers, it is very difficult. Absolutely right. Now what we can do, we can either sit down कि अब कुछ नहीं हो सकता है, or we can take it as a fresh opportunity for ourselves. There are so many things we always believe that काश मैं ये कर पाता, काश मैं ये कर पाता, काश मुझे थोड़ा और time मिल जाता. There are so many people who are graduated from IIT or IIMs. Every morning they feel that before going to their 9 to 5 job, why am I doing this? Am I really happy doing this? They have certain startup ideas, certain organizational ideas, etc. And that is the time to implement them. I was very sure that my second book won't publish, because and my target was that I publish it before I graduate. But because of this lockdown, the extension of time which I got, I made it sure that I use it as an opportunity that I complete my book. I took it as an opportunity that if I can be a part of certain webinars, that will be an opportunity for me to grow. So these are the opportunity. This is the time. There can be two spheres. Whether you are a positive person in that very soul aspect, or a negative person. A person with negativities will say, "Khatam hi nahi ho raha, main kya karu, main barbaad ho chuka hu." But a positive person at the end of the day will say that, right, I always wanted time for myself, for my family. Here I have the largest of time which is possible for me. Let me pursue it. Let me do something which I always had a dream. Let's make that dream in reality. You can start your YouTube channel. If someone is a great cook, start with that. If someone is a great painter, follow your hobbies. I know that if you don't have those jobs remaining, that is one of the most unfortunate things. But at the end of the day, you can either take it as a positive attitude person, or demolish yourself by already being in a negative state of mind and in a negative state of situation. So no one can help other than you yourself at the end of the day.
Thank you, Kuber. As we wrap up, I will want to hear 2 minutes from everyone. Okay, what are your closing thoughts? Any last minute food for thought you want to leave for our audience, summarizing? We'll start with Kuber.
So thank you so much for this opportunity. And when I saw the chat after my presentation, many people told in their messages that they follow this personality and they are a big fan of this personality. They want to do this activity, etc. So let's not wait. And because if you say, "Chalo ab hum kal karte hain, chalo ab hum parso karte hain," that tomorrow or day after tomorrow will not come. You have to commence right now. Live in the present situation. But most importantly, follow your interest, but be happy. If you are happy and doing certain things, the output will certainly be a positive aspect at the end of the day. So follow your passion, but be happy. As Mahesh sir also in the beginning gave the example of Sushant Singh Rajput. It is very important that you are mentally happy whatever you are doing. And at the end of the day, you will get the success that you always wanted. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kuber. Wonderful last words. We look forward to staying in touch with you. Rakesh ji, your 2 minutes on emotional.
Speak slightly on one that I was talking to Jyotsna ma'am. I just want to say that we are very conscious of quality of work. But I believe that quality comes through system improvement rather than picking up any person or inspecting anyone. What we do is, I keep on scanning the system all the time and I see if anything is not working. Now there is a common cause or there is a special cause. Actually, I'm trained in quality from ASQL, American Society for Quality. So whenever there's a common cause, we try to improve the system. But when there is a special cause, then we have special counseling with the teacher. But there's one thing more, which is very unique I told my coordinator, never tell any teacher what is her fault or what is she lacking. Only tell her what she is good at. Never tell. What happens, the teachers themselves, when they ask, after you keep on telling them, you're good in this, you're good in that, they come themselves and they say, ma'am, you are telling me I'm good. Please tell me where I have to improve. When she asks, then we improve the teacher. Otherwise, we don't tell her. We tell her only find good points about everyone. So that is one part. Now, emotional intelligence, basically, it is very important that a person is connected to himself. We are not connected to ourselves. As Mr. Kuber was saying, that we should know our nature, our true nature. No, we don't know our true nature because we are not connected. We don't know what we have inherited. We keep on going zigzag, 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 and maybe we find a way of living which is suitable to us. But mostly we are not connected to self. So the first part is mindfulness is being connected to self. And then, of course, the other part is that we have to maintain relationship with others. That also we are connected to them. Most of our time when we are having a prejudice, a preconception, or ego, it interferes in connecting with others, so we're not able to deal properly. There is improper dealing. See, I just, last minute, 1 minute, I want to say something. I want to tell a story which my 3-year-old children also know. From age of 3 years to 17 years, each child knows this story. I'll just tell you a very small story. There were 7 sheep and they had to go through a passage. At the end, there was a barrier. So the first sheep jumped, the second sheep jumped. By the time the third sheep came, the barrier was removed. But the third sheep still jumped. Fourth sheep still jumped. There was no barrier, but they still jumped. Fifth sheep still jumped. Sixth still jumped. And the seventh one, that didn't jump. And that was the mindful sheep. And that is modern school children. They are all going to be mindful like the 7 sheep. And then they start discussion on what is wrong with sheep number 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is known to each and every child right from 3 years age. 3.5, not at the beginning of nursery, but by the time half the month passes. And they all are concerned about mindfulness, that there is an illusion of reality and we take action. And there is a real understanding of reality. So most of the children are very much aware. For another thing, none of them are afraid to go in the dark. I taught them, because darkness, children are mostly afraid in the dark. But in the darkness, what happens is that there is no one to make them scared, but they're afraid. So I taught them how to overcome their fear of darkness. So none of them are afraid of darkness. So these are the things I wanted to share. So emotional intelligence means being in self-connected to self. I'm connected to myself and I'm connected to others. In Hindi, we call it yog. Sanskrit, we call it yog. To be connected with everything. Okay.
Thank you, Rakesh. Before I come to you, Jyotsna, for your thoughts, I will answer a few questions which were asked and I will give my perspective. One is parents ask for providing some play game activities for students. There are many games, you don't even need to do physical or digital. Okay, these could be quizzes. Now, in fact, there's a lot of things which can happen. Our galaxy, our sky is a very wonderful avenue for learning. Okay, things like equinox, things like with the Google devices and everything on your Android, you can see the sky, the star, the constellation, the planetary positions. And due to most of North India currently being less polluted the way it is, it makes for great learning. I would say, if it's summer and you want to sleep with your kids on an open terrace, you could see meteoroids falling, you could see satellites, you could see different stars, and play between yourself on identification. There is there's Ludo, there's a lot of things, right? Even our historical ancient Indian games, even playing with marbles, many people have lost that habit. It helps to improve your motor skills. Okay, those things should not be lost. That's one. Second thing, somebody asked a question, how do you teach parents to accept grades? Unfortunately, grades are important, okay, because they're useful for us to get admission in colleges. It helps us to get employment. So yes, society also has to change to accepting grades, and parents have to open themselves. One. Second is life has changed. Okay, today there are more avenues available. Who would have thought that stand-up comedian would be a career choice? Okay, who would have thought that good content writing for a blog or writing about sports for La Liga could be a career? So don't worry about grades. Grades are important, but life is even more important. With that, I will hand it over to Jyotsna to sum it up. And also, if she could answer these questions about parents, she's a parent herself, about how do parents accept grades, as well as summarizing. I would like to thank Peoplebridge again and thank the great audience. Over to you, Jyotsna.
So it was great. We all were enjoying this laid back. Everybody started enjoying their own home domains. So one thing definitely now we need to change is we need to get our routines back. And in those routines, we need to add some kind of game we with our children, some kind of activities we get our children involved. Initial stages of lockdown, everybody took a backseat, everybody relaxed, watched a lot of Netflix, wasted a lot of time, I would say, thinking things would get normal. But this is our new normal, people. We need to get back our life to track and enjoy. And it is a great opportunity. We can actually spend some great quality time. We have been always cribbing to spend with our family. We can enjoy games, and we can actually plan our days accordingly. We can have certain meals planned together, like in our family. A very small thing we do is that every evening or every night we have a family time routine before we switch on our gadgets or before we get on hooked to anything. After dinner, between 9 to 9:30, 10, we make sure that the family sits together, kids play whatever they want to summarize their day. So I think we are all in this together, and we're going to emerge out more successful at the end, that side of the story. With that, I think we'll close the session.
Yeah, thank you, Jyotsna. And I hope that one of your schools would soon become an IB school. And IB is not only for the metros, it is for a good platform to learn. It's a good framework, and schools beyond the metros are adopting it. I'll be in touch with you. And even the audience, if any of you are looking at adopting the IB curriculum or the IB framework for your existing curriculum, please be in touch, and we are happy to help. And thanks for great insights. Thank you again, Kuber, Rakesh, and Jyotsna. Thank you, Amitabh, Anamika, Payal, and the Peoplebridge team. Thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you soon, probably next week, in one of our new sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And on behalf of Peoplebridge, thanks to all the panelists. It's a wonderful session. Thank you so much.